everyone! Today I will be setting up my first ever reading journal for 2022. As I had mentioned in last week's video on my 2022 notebook lineup, I've decided to turn my regular size traveler's notebook into my reading journal. I'll be using one monthly insert and a dot grid insert, which is actually the exact same setup as my bullet journal for 2021. I would say that this setup was much more on the practical side than on the decorative side. But even as I say that, I'm going to begin by decorating the covers of my inserts. I was inspired by Sarika's video where she decorated all of her inserts for 2022 by using this beautifully textured paper, and I thought that I wanted to give it a try as well, minus all of the decorating and collaging. So, I decided to ask my mom if I could use some of the special paper that she uses to write Japanese calligraphy on, and she agreed to give me as many as I wanted. I fell in love with several gorgeous papers that centered around Japanese themes and art. The first one I chose to decorate my monthly traveler's notebook insert with has these two beautiful cranes flying across the paper. The entire paper is filled with this soft pink color, and there are gold flecks scattered throughout it, which is one of my favorite features of this paper. So I began by using my glue tape all over the cover of the insert to stick the calligraphy paper onto. I'm not sure how well this is going to stay put throughout the year, but I'm not too worried about it at the moment. And then I cut off any excess paper. For my dot grid insert, I chose another paper that depicted some cranes as well. While the first paper was more of an orange-toned pink, this paper is more of a pastel pink. And there are also gold flecks throughout this paper. On this second paper, there is an entire scenery depicted on it, which looks like a garden, and the cranes stand off to the left of the paper. And because there are darker hues of pink at the bottom of the paper, and it gradually lightens as it moves towards the top, it looks as though the scene is covered in fog. For this insert, instead of cutting off all of the excess paper, I decided to cover the inside of the insert with this paper as well. Now, this was a pretty imperfect job. I ripped the paper several times because it was thinner than I was expecting and more delicate than the previous paper, but I think I was able to salvage it. The end result looks decent enough if you don't look too closely. And because these papers are so delicate, I kind of want to cover both of these inserts with a plastic cover, but unfortunately, I'll just have to make do with it being inside the regular leather cover. Okay, now let's get into creating the reading spreads. So I've never used this future log page in the past, but I've decided that it would make a pretty great reading tracker for 2022. I've seen several channels create this type of reading tracker in their bullet journals, and it's where you basically keep track of what type of book you've read on any given day. And by type of book, I mean the format of the book. So I'm keeping track of 4 different formats for 2022: physical, Kindle, audiobook, and a combination of formats. And I've also decided to add a little check mark in the key to mark when I've finished reading a book. At the end of the year, I'm hoping that this will give me a bird's eye view of how often I read and what formats I gravitated towards the most. I'm still not too sure what I'll actually be using the monthly calendars for, but at the moment I'm thinking that I could use it to write about the book I had most loved reading that month and maybe write a review about it. So at the end of this monthly insert, there are some blank pages, which is where I'll be creating some permanent spreads for the year. Here, I want to create some fun spreads for all of the challenges that I want to participate in 2022. Now, after bullet journaling for so many years, I have accepted the fact that I am not great at drawing or writing calligraphy, and so what I enjoy doing the most is scrapbooking, collaging, and making things look pretty on Canva. So that's what I did for these permanent spreads. Even though the prep takes longer, I think it makes my life easier in the long run. So the first spread I created on Canva was for the Goodreads challenge. I've decided that I'll aim to read 30 books by the end of 2022. It's slightly ambitious, but not so ambitious that I'll feel the pressure weighing me down. For all of these spreads, what I did was I basically chose a template on Canva that I liked, and then I adjusted it to my liking. It was really fun to combine elements that I liked from several different templates so that I ended up with a completely unique spread made just for me. The Goodreads challenge printout is travel themed with several postal stamps scattered around. I also didn't place the printout right at the inner edge of the page because I didn't want it to bend every time I closed the page, which is what happened in my bullet journal. The next challenge I want to try is the alphabet challenge, where you read a book that starts with each letter of the alphabet. This printout turned out to be my favorite, even though it was the simplest to create in Canva. I used a typewriter font for all of the letters and used some pastel-colored leaves in the background. Next, we have the RAD challenge, which is a reading challenge created by Rachel Dawson. For 2022, the challenge includes fun prompts like read a book talk recommendation, read a celeb memoir, and a graphic novel. I've never read a graphic novel before, so that'll definitely be fun. I'm also cutting out my final challenge printout, which is the Modern Mrs. Darcy challenge. I decided to go with her Learn New Things challenge, which is, as the title suggests, focused on learning new things. This challenge includes prompts like read a book that's more than 600 pages, read a book that intimidates you, and read a book published before you were born. For the MMD challenge, I made the title look like a phone was playing a song, but the rest of the page is very simple. The RAD challenge printout took the most time to create, but I love how it turned out. All I had to do was use several graphics of plants sprouting from the ground, and then I added stars all around them. And then at the end, I just added a shooting star at the top. If you like any of these printouts, please let me know and I'll make them available. I haven't done that at the moment because I think these challenges are pretty specific to what I'm doing for 2022. Then, after I had stuck everything down, this is where it all went downhill. In trying to cut off the excess paper, I ended up cutting off too much on the second page, so it's now much more narrow than the rest of the pages. Oh well, c'est la vie. Finally, I'm creating a very simple spread to track all of the books I've read throughout 2022. Even though I'll be writing about all of these books in my dot grid insert, hopefully, I'd still like to have an overview of all of the titles I've read in one spread. I decided to let it take up 2 whole pages, which is actually quite ambitious because I was able to fit around 25 books on one page for 2021, so that means it's about double of that. But anyway, hopefully this will motivate me to read more than I had initially challenged myself to read. So all that I will be tracking on this spread is the title of the book, the date I finished reading the book, and the star rating I give it. And that's it. Here is a final flip through of my reading journal for 2022. really love the Japanese themed covers, and even though my challenge spreads turned out wonky, they're still functional and I'm sure they'll serve me well throughout the year. What books are you looking forward to reading in 2022? I am definitely looking forward to reading more fantasy books like She Who Became the Sun, Gideon the Ninth, and Iron Widow. In 2022, I really just want to enjoy reading for the sake of reading. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and maybe even subscribe. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!